Alright, this is a summary of Chapter 9, Rational Expressions and Equations. What you'll see here are 4 different problems, and it's very easy for people to mix these problems up. What you notice in number 1 is a division, number 2 is a minus, number 3 is an equal of 2 fractions called a proportion, and number 4 is a solving with an equal here, where you have to add and have to deal with fractions. So these 4 different problems get mixed up tons by students. So let's try to talk about how we can keep yourself from mixing things up. So let's kind of talk about each one and then we'll kind of summarize. For division, the key is you flip the second one. See right there, you flipped it. Make it a multiply. You factor every piece. Now this right here, 5 minus x, becomes an x minus 5 because when you pull out a negative 1, and the reason I know to pull out a negative 1 is when I factor the top, I see this x minus 5 and I want to try to cancel. And the only way I can is if I make that an x minus 5. So again, you got to watch out for that pulling out of negatives, of a GCF of the negative, so you can cancel. And then you got a division becomes multiply, and you just factor, and then you can cancel diagonally or up and down, or diagonally. You can cancel the numbers in front, and your answer ends up being simply negative 3. For 2 here, when you have a minus between, it's nothing about flipping and multiplying. What happens here is you need a common denominator. Here, you don't care about the denominator. You basically got to just start canceling and then multiply straight across. Here you don't see a lot of straight across multiplying, but in general you multiply straight across. Here you got to get a common denominator whenever there's a minus or a plus. Big difference. So to get a common denominator between these two, you factor both bottoms, and when you factor it, what you'll notice is, first of all, let me cross that out right there, because when I factored this here in red, factored this in blue, and when I look at the bottoms, I now go, okay, this one needs something that this one has. So to make them common, this one over here needs a 6 here in green, top and bottom, has to be top and bottom. This one over here needs the 2x minus 3 from this one. So now, by the way, top and bottom. Now if you look at the bottoms, they match. The key is to get the bottoms to match. And you want the lowest common denominator. It makes life easier. Now you could just take all of this, multiply top and bottom by it. All of this, multiply top and bottom by it. But you create a lot of baggage that you don't want to deal with. So it's easier just to find the lowest one they share in common. And then what you do is top and bottom for each. And the key is top and bottom. Again, people mix that up because when you get down to here, you just multiply the tops. Here you do top and bottom. And these two get confused. It's just got to get practice, got to get used to it. Anywho, that becomes 48. There's right here foils. And when you subtract all this, a lot of people forget to subtract all these pieces inside. Very common. Sorry, it's a common mistake. And then you're done. This can't factor on top. The bottom's one thing. You're done. So again, with this kind of problem, the key is getting a common denominator. And in order to get a common denominator, you need to look for the lowest one, hopefully. And basically, this guy looks over here and goes, what does this guy have that I need? And this one looks over here and goes, what does this one need from this side to make them in common? And then don't forget to do top and bottom. Here, if you have a fraction equal to a fraction, it's called a proportion. All you do is cross multiply. The key is a fraction equal to a fraction. This one's not a fraction equal to a fraction. It's different. And then when it's equal, you just cross multiply, and then you solve. That's pretty simple. The thing is, people mix these up, and they start trying to cross multiply this, or they try to get a lowest common denominator with this. This is a minus or a plus, and depends on the type of problem. This is an equal. So again, if it's equal of 2 fractions, you cross multiply, and then set each piece. There's the red, there's the green, equal, and just solve it. So please try to keep that organized. Again, division or multiplication, see this division becomes a multiplication, you're just canceling diagonally up and down and then multiply straight across. You don't care about common denominators here. You don't care about them here. You care about common denominators here. Now for number 4 here, you actually care about the lowest common denominator, because what you're going to do with this lowest common denominator is you're going to multiply every piece by it. I call it a fraction buster. Here you cared about the lowest common denominator so you can get common denominators. Here you multiply the lowest common denominator by each top. Now it's only the tops. Don't do high the bottoms, you're just doing the tops. And first of all, how did I find this lowest common denominator? Well, I noticed I took both these pieces, and then I noticed over here I needed x plus 4 as well. So I combine these two to get the lowest denominator that has both in it. Okay, now when I multiply this by this, this, and this, when you multiply it, you see these pieces cancel. Here you see those pieces cancel. Here nothing cancels. So if you distribute here, you get these two tops. Here, I multiplied 2 times 3 is 6. Got it? And then I multiplied that in to get this, so 6 distribute. Then I FOIL, get this, and then when I solve, I get it equal to 0 because there's an x squared. And once I have it equal to 0, I have to use quadratic formula, which is quite a pain. So, but the key, what I'm trying to get at here, besides this whole process to solve this, is when there's a plus and an equal sign, or a minus and an equal sign, and it's not a fraction equal to a fraction, you can't cross multiply. What you got to do is you got to find the LCD and multiply all the tops by it. And if you do it properly, all the denominators disappear. See how all the denominators are gone? And that's called a fraction buster. Nice and easy. Now, if all the fractions don't disappear, you chose an improper lowest common denominator, because all the fractions should disappear. And then you solve. Again, this isn't pretty, and most likely will be a quadratic formula or a factoring problem a lot of times, but it should become lacking of fractions, and thus you can solve it. So again, don't try to get a common denominator here. I mean, you could try to get common denominators, make it into fractions, change it to look like this. That's more work. So just spot the difference. A dividing or multiplying, adding or subtracting, fractions equal to fractions, and an equation with fractions all over the place. That's where you want to do the fraction buster, where you find the LCD, multiply it by all the tops. Now, one more thing. A lot of people forget to multiply the last piece. The reason I can multiply all of it by it is basically I'm multiplying both sides by the LCD. And multiplying both sides by the LCD basically means multiplying each piece. Hope this helps.